The plasma bolt tore through Marcus Chen's chest with surgical precision, leaving a hole the size of a dinner plate where his left lung used to be. He stumbled backward against the cargo bay wall of the mining station, his vision blurring as crimson spread across his environmental suit. "Marcus!" Zephyr's crystalline voice cracked with panic. The Veltari's bioluminescent scales flickered from their usual serene blue to a distressed amber as she rushed to his side, her forearms reaching out instinctively before stopping short. Her species had evolved on a low-gravity garden world where the worst injury was a scraped membrane from climbing too enthusiastically. The Corvan pirates who had boarded their station were already retreating, satisfied that the two had been neutralized. They hadn't counted on human stubbornness. Marcus pressed his hand against the wound, feeling the warm wetness seep through his fingers. His augmented HUD was screaming warnings about catastrophic organ damage, blood loss, and imminent cardiac arrest. By all rights, he should be dead in minutes. "Zeph," he wheezed, tasting copper. "How long until the transport arrives?" 6 standard hours, she whispered, her large obsidian eyes reflecting the station's emergency lighting. "But Marcus, you need medical attention now. Your species' medical databases indicate—" "I know what they indicate." He pushed himself upright, ignoring the fire that spread through his chest. "But it's December 24th Earth time." Zephyr's confusion was palpable. After 3 years of partnership on this remote mining operation, she still struggled with human customs. "I do not understand the significance." Marcus smiled through gritted teeth, remembering their conversation from weeks ago. Zephyr had been fascinated by his descriptions of Earth's winter celebration, the concept of gathering with loved ones, of giving gifts, of finding light in darkness. Her own species had abandoned such primitive emotional attachments centuries ago in pursuit of pure logic and efficiency. "You wanted to see Christmas," he said simply. "I promised I'd take you." The next 6 hours tested every limit of human endurance. Marcus jury-rigged a compression seal from mining equipment, essentially turning his chest cavity into a pressurized container. His suit's medical systems pumped him full of coagulants and synthetic blood, buying him time his biology shouldn't have allowed. Zephyr watched in horrified fascination as he performed field surgery on himself using mining tools, his hands steady despite the blood loss. "Your species designation as Deathworlders was not hyperbole," she murmured. "Earth doesn't let go of its children easily," Marcus gasped, welding a patch over his makeshift chest seal. "We're too stubborn to die when we have promises to keep." When the transport arrived, the pilot, a gruff Terran veteran named Rodriguez, took one look at Marcus and reached for the emergency medical stasis pod. "No stasis," Marcus commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had wrestled life from the jaws of death. "Direct route to Earth, Sol System. Terra Station." "Chen, you crazy bastard, you'll die if we don't. I'll die if we do." Marcus settled into the co-pilot's chair, his jury-rigged chest seal humming softly. "Trust me." The journey to Earth took 18 hours at maximum burn. Marcus spent most of it in a meditative state he'd learned from Tibetan monks, slowing his heart rate and conserving oxygen. Zephyr never left his side, her scales cycling through every color in her emotional spectrum as she watched him defy what should have been certain death. They arrived at Terra Station on December 25th, 03:47 hours Earth Standard Time. Marcus had enough strength left for one final act of will. He guided their shuttle through Earth's atmosphere, past the orbital platforms and defense grids, down through the cloud layer to the surface he hadn't seen in 4 years. New Geneva sprawled below them, its lights twinkling like terrestrial stars in the pre-dawn darkness. Snow covered the ancient city in a pristine blanket, and Christmas lights still glowed in windows despite the early hour. "It's beautiful," Zephyr breathed, pressing her face to the viewport. Her scales had settled into a soft, warm gold, a color Marcus had never seen before. They landed in Lumiere Park, where families were already gathering for the traditional Christmas morning celebration. Marcus finally allowed himself to collapse, his makeshift repairs failing as his body surrendered to the inevitable. But he had kept his promise. Emergency medics swarmed the shuttle within minutes, their practiced hands stabilizing him with technology far advanced from his crude field repairs. As they loaded him onto a stretcher, Marcus watched Zephyr step into the snow for the first time, her forearms outstretched to catch the falling flakes. Human children approached her with the fearless curiosity of their species, offering her hot chocolate and candy canes. She accepted both with wonder, her scales shifting to mirror the warm reds and greens of the season around her. "Why?" she asked later, as Marcus lay in the medical bay with a shiny new artificial lung and enough synthetic blood to fill a bathtub. "Why risk everything for a simple cultural experience?" Marcus considered the question, watching through the window as Zephyr learned to build snowmen with a group of delighted human children. Her logical, efficient people had given up such wasteful emotional connections long ago. "Because some things are worth dying for," he said finally. "And Christmas. Christmas is about love, about keeping promises to the people who matter, about finding magic in the darkness." Zephyr's scales shimmered through a spectrum he'd never seen before, complex patterns of silver and gold that seemed to contain entire galaxies. "I think," she said quietly, "I understand why the galaxy calls your species Deathworlders. You do not simply survive death, you transform it into something beautiful." Outside, snow continued to fall on New Geneva, and somewhere in the distance, church bells began to ring Christmas morning across Earth. Marcus smiled, feeling warmth spread through his chest that had nothing to do with his new artificial lung. He had kept his promise, and in doing so, had given his friend something his own logical species had lost long ago: the understanding that love, not logic, was the force that made life worth living. Even for a Deathworlder, that was a Christmas miracle worth dying for.